Hello and welcome back to Terra Invicta. In the last episode, we've finally gotten to tier 2, and as you can see, we have no income of anything because every mine is slowly being built. And we also have this alien on the way, 15th July, the next invasion fleet. So very, very soon. There are none others on the way from Inky though, so it's just this one, which we should have no issue in handling once it gets here. So yeah, let's continue playing the game and try and get these stations up to be into all right state. So the techs. See, we do want to finish off guerrilla warfare because I just still haven't done it, but it's no real rush on guerrilla warfare. Obviously, we need our global researches. Let's do ferrocite resistance. For now, we're more focusing on the visible combat lasers because we're going to need this to get our ships to be in a reasonable position. And yeah, let's continue. Oh, a new alien base immediately. Earth Lunar L1. Interesting. They're building in the Lagrange point. Okay. Never ever seen the AI build in a Lagrange point before. It's quite cool. So yeah, in between Earth and the Moon. That makes sense. Because we still have R1 being built in between the Earth and the Sun over here. Which will still take a little bit of time to actually get built. Alright, let's get back to Earth then. Again, advise China. Oh, there's a resistance council. I feel like we never ever see the resistance. Let's do a few more diplomatic discussions. Let's do one with the resistance and one with the initiative. Let's do another inspire on Alp because I'm a little bit worried about people spotting him and turning him against us. Now, how close are we to being able to grab Canada? 12th of November, okay. So yeah, the threat is still here, but I imagine the threat is higher than this.
Establishing contact.
Okay, initiative. What do you have?
Trying to talk these monsters down. You go right ahead.
Advanced prospecting surveys. Off-Earth mining output increased by 10%. Yes, we would love that. Railguns I don't want. Fleet combatants, like for the massive ships, no. A lot of these is because we haven't researched the basic ECM module. It's giving us the tier 2 variant. And yeah, so we don't need anything like that. Same with most of these. It's stuff we'll get once we research the engines and stuff specifically. So let's mostly ignore it. Let's see what let's see what orgs they have. I think at this stage of the game, orgs doesn't really matter. So what can we give you? Improvements to boost. Let's give you the fusion reactor array because you'll get that at some point pretty soon anyway. Will you just accept both? Can we get rid of this? Yep, so we'll just accept the fusion and generous for opinion increase. Really, really good deal for me.
Making contact.
Okay, resistance.
If you want to invite these bastards into your house, that's your problem, not ours.
Mainly the same stuff, to be honest. Like, yeah, the stuff that's like kind of tier 2 variants of stuff we haven't yet researched. That's it. So, Door Ink, I always thought was, yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. Gives +2 science. I've always quite liked Door Ink. Haran is okay, but they don't have anything. Oh, Ryan and Company actually is the +6 that costs 2, which most of them are a +5 which cost 2. So I actually like Ryan and Company, but I imagine to get it, yeah, they're going to need a lot from me, and I'm not willing to do that at this stage of the game.
They'll stay loyal to the cause.
Okay, critical success for Yen. Yeah, getting 10% mining output tech, really, really nice, because lots of those techs They don't always have a 100% chance of showing up. So, oh, the resistance just took it anyway. Okay, fair enough, resistance. But yeah, when these techs have this kind of 64% unlock chance, it means that there's a chance that we will just basically not unlock it. For example, which just means that yeah, one of the ways you can unlock it is by essentially getting it from another faction. The fusion platform kit, we will want that at some point, not today. That's good to do. Yeah, the environment score in America is going up really fast, actually, which is really, really nice. But now we're mostly just focusing on mission control, just so we're still way above the cap. Even though it's quite efficient. I mean, China is kind of doing everything right now. It's doing government, knowledge, environment, welfare, military. America is allowed to be a lot more focused. Okay, this is the invasion fleet. Let's see where it's land. Land army to Shanbei. I actually do not know where that is. Okay, just looked it up. It is the capital of Tajikistan. So it should be... Here we go. This one. Tajikistan. So what they are doing right here is they are landing in a servant country, which would be bad. However, the aliens have made a mistake here. Tajikistan is allied with China. So that means that even though what the aliens are essentially trying to do here is land in a servant country, and the servants will essentially let them take that province for themselves. So what we can do, because China will be in that war, is we can just send the Chinese army there. Now, I do not know if the Chinese army is strong enough to do this. It is only on 5.5, but with 6 armies, it should be alright. It should be able to handle it at 5.5. So yeah, that is our current plan. We will stop them here. So even though their kind of plan of we will basically defend Tajikistan against Tajikistan's will. They want the aliens to take them over, and we're just not going to let them. So yeah, that is the plan. Alp? Why is everyone just hanging out in Bermuda? That's a bit odd. Let's get back to surveilling here, see if we get lucky again.
Acknowledged. Standing by.
No one has been discovered by the servants. No, Dahramal has been discovered by a lot of people. But that's okay.
What's the op?
Let's keep fighting off some xenofauna on our borders.
Ready for my mission.
Especially in India as well, as India's, you know, is protectorate, which is more or less friendly. Okay, Yen. Just keep inspiring people. Let's inspire Dahramal, because she seems to get spotted by a lot of people. Yep, confirm. So, once we have, okay, Dushanbe, Tajikistan.
Offering assistance.
Lending my expertise.
Eyes up.
I think we had a breakthrough.
Okay, we're on the way, we're on the way. We will definitely get there before they all depart. I'm just a little bit worried about the quality of the Chinese army. Next turn, Dahramal. Okay, alien again. Amazing, amazing. Double alien? Oh no, okay, well, we're gonna need to grab both of these. Or at least check both of them out to see if either of them are any quality. And we also need to advise China. This is going to be quite a hectic little part of the game. It's lucky I put Alp here. Yeah, the AI seem to love these spots for some reason. Okay, and giant megafauna in Astana. I'm just going to go
That's
fight
destroyed.
Russia. However, because Tajikistan has 10 cohesion, it also has it's also a rugged region, which should give bonuses to my armies because they should be defending when they're in this spot. The Chinese army should have this covered pretty easily. This army is very slow. I assumed it was the one arriving from Taipei, so yeah, it's had to travel a much longer distance. Okay, so Alp. Let's start with an investigate on this one. I'm going to put some ops to it, just so that it's at 99% rather than 97.
Reporting in.
Dahramal advised China to give them a
Offering
buff
support.
to their military. In fact, Dahramal as well. Can we... Yeah, you're on 87. Okay, good. +1 command, +1 command, up to put you up to 25. There's a lot of orgs here. 10% information science, it's not bad. That one's not great. 7% space mining. I've seen better. Nothing here really standing out for now. I quite like this one though. The 10% information, +1 science, and it also gives buffs to 2% military control and 2% military. Seems pretty good. So, yeah. Let's try this then. Let's put points for Dahramal, because she's a striver, she can kind of get away with this kind of thing, into administration. Get rid of Hera financial. She's on 24, so she can't quite afford it. But she's very close, so we'll drop one of these for now, and we'll pick that up in a moment, and we'll grab this. There we go. And then Yen. The game is a little bit laggy at this stage of the game. Yen then, if we're doing all this,
Ready.
Leah Abbott will detect this one. Now, even though she won't successfully surveil it, we should be able to keep it tracked.
I will help them.
So Yen can be in charge of advising.
At your service.
What's the
Actually, Yen can do one of these for now.
We'll see
Investigate
what we
alien
can find.
activity. Confirm. Okay. Once we have our shipyards, we'll build some ships and we'll talk about them and what we need to do with them.
Offering counsel.
Because we are still quite a few techs off actually building our own ships, as mainly engineering projects. Okay, so Alpha 25,
Nothing unusual found.
and this alien is staying put, so it's not moving. Oh, Humanity First Fleet. Oh, and of course, we also need to be on the lookout, I honestly forgot, for Councillor number 6. Anything like, just any good traits, even if they're not in like an inspector. Whoever they're with will be really nice. None of these really good. No one has anything that's leaping out at me. This guy is the inspector job. But yeah, a checklist is pointless. He's mostly pretty useless. Yeah, this guy is like beloved billionaire. Can actually, and with eminent for like the early game. I really would like this guy because those buffs there with like all that bonus, if you see the monthly income of persuasion, would really add up early on. Like as a persuasion counselor, he's actually really good. But for this stage of the game, he's just not. He's just not needed. Okay. Our Mars bases are slowly actually being completed at tier 2. About the tier 2 mine, did I mess up on Mars? Yeah, that is the tier 2 mine. Okay, I didn't. Ooh, this alien megafauna is coming towards me. I guess to try and support the alien landing. I did not know the AI were capable of that, to be honest. Okay, new organizations. Nothing here we really want. 2 for 5% is not great, considering you can get 1 for 4%.
At your service.
So out. Let's see what traits
We'll see what they are up to.
Alpha 25 has.
Ready.
Leah, let's see what traits.
Eyes on
Let's
the
keep
target.
tracking this one.
Ready for my mission.
Yen,
Standing by
investigate the
for
last of the alien activity. And Dahramal, we need your buff to
Offering
China.
assistance.
Okay, mines and stuff being completed. The alien army on Earth, once again. Yep, so because they're at half power, they're at equivalent strength of 5.5, and we are at equivalent strength of 6.017 at the top there. Plus 0.5 support from local cohesion. Yeah, so these armies will not stand a chance.
Lending my expertise.
I'm just being paranoid. Because, yeah, they've gone up to 8 from 7, which is where they was before. They're still terrifyingly strong, though, these armies.
We found nothing of note.
And we're also having to fight this this megafauna at the same time. Okay, so another invasion ship. Yeah, those will just keep coming. And we just have to keep knocking them out. So, next, let's start thinking about ships. So, I suppose let's do this now. Let's talk about ships, what we need, and what we're doing. Just a quick interjection here to apologise. The next part of the footage is the frame rate is really, really bad on it. It does pick up after a little bit, so just keep with it. But I'll try and add in annotations and things to explain what I mean when I'm telling what I'm talking about when it comes to ships. Apologies again, and it should be fixed for all future videos, so yeah, please enjoy. Okay, so first let's go over to the ship designer. And let's talk about ships. So for starters, we only have the tiniest ships possible. And for right now, that's okay. The reason why is because the smaller the ship, the easier it is to move around the solar system. So if you want your ships able to move around the solar system quickly, smaller is better. However, for more power, bigger is always better. By the late game, I will usually pretty much only be building the largest ship I possibly can, because the bigger the ship, they can have bigger weapons which have more range, which means you can fire first, so that your ships should basically outrange the aliens. But for right now, we don't. So a ship has many, many components, and a good rule of thumb, in my experience, is you just use whatever is like the best. A lot of these components, like radiators, if we see this one, 400 tons per gigawatt waste heat. So the more tons per gigawatt waste heat, the less resource efficient it is. This one, 181 tons per gigawatt waste heat. This means that this one will basically make the ship a lot slower. This one will make the ship a lot faster. So for this slot, I would have always used this one over the other. Same with battery. Most of them will have kind of a mass and a capacity. You just got whatever one seems kind of lightest and easiest to use. Now your drive requires a certain power point. So the burner drive that we got earlier, let's say if we put that on the ship, right? That can only use the gas core fission reactor, which is the only reactor we've researched at the moment anyway, which we got for the drive. So your power plant is pretty much, you just put the drive on and then you get whatever power plant is best for your drive. And you're looking for things like more efficiency, like less tons per gigawatt, stuff like that. And yeah, so then this could be just your gunship, right? Now, we will need, for essentially boost and speed, you can put as many engines on as you want. 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to put all 6 engines on, just for more speed in the galaxy. And then propellant is how much fuel you have. Yeah, the more fuel, the further you can go, and the more delta V you have. Now, a good way of looking at kind of these stats, like cruise acceleration, cruise delta V, a good way to understand them, kind of intuitively, is to look at alien ships and look at what they're capable of. So let's go find an alien ship. Let's have a look at, let's say this large alien fleet here, right? Random alien gunship. It has a cruise acceleration of 48.5 milligs and a maximum delta V of 560. You want a cruise acceleration, at the very least like 1 millig, but usually like 10-ish milligs works better. Later on, but at least a few milligs. Without a few milligs of cruise acceleration, your ship is just more or less completely stranded, right? So if we look at some of these like terrible starting rockets, oh no, these are all the ones with crazy acceleration for terrible. Okay, so you usually want at least a few milligs, and here it will kind of warn you that yeah, you're gonna struggle when you're that low. Like if you have less than 0.5 interplanetary transfers possible, less than 10, you will slow down. If you are less than 10, because you need to, you know, outfit yourself with weapons and stuff, and of course armor, which we'll talk about in a moment, that's fine. Right? Like, this ship is fine, it's slow, but it will be able to move around. And for the early stage of the game, that's all you really need. You need to be able to move around and have some form of acceleration. Now, so then we say, okay, but obviously this ship is terrible. It's not going to do anything. It doesn't have a real weapon. Its radiators are incredibly vulnerable. What do we need? Well, that's because we haven't actually researched anything. The only last thing we need to talk about is a heatsink. Essentially, in space, ships don't have any way of expelling heat because they're in space, right? There's no air around them to get rid of the heat. It's only very slowly lost through radiation. So what they have in this game are these large radiators, which essentially are required for your ship, and they essentially kind of expel out all the excess heat. A heatsink essentially is a way of saying when you're in battle, you pull in your radiators, and then the heatsink kind of takes on the heat for itself, and then eventually after a while the heatsink will get full up and the radiators go out. Every ship needs a heatsink, because if the radiators get blown up, your ship will essentially start overheating and you will explode. And the radiators get blown up quite a lot because they're incredibly vulnerable. So yeah. But obviously this ship is nowhere near good enough. So what techs do we need? Well, easiest way for me is to kind of look at the components. So we'll go with like radiator. We need a better radiator. We will need better armor. We will need a better heatsink. We need a real weapon. And we probably want a better battery. The battery you can kind of ignore. So let's have a look. The most expensive radiator we can build right now is the tin droplet radiator. We can also get the cobalt dust radiator, but that's 200 tons per waste heat. This one is 125 tons per waste heat, so it's just way better, right? This one here is 300 tons. So we can essentially, what we can do is we can obsolete these other radiators, because if we just go with tin droplet, we're never going to need them, right? And this is kind of a luxury we have because we've waited so long to build a fleet. The average kind of tech of a lot of these parts is so advanced that we can essentially skip all the parts that are from behind us. We just don't need anymore. Tin droplet is better anyway. It also has this combat vulnerability when deployed. So if it has to be deployed in combat, it's a lot less likely to get blown up. The only part of the game I would say where it's just like you just look at this and then pick whatever has the lowest is when you are dealing with the exotics, which we haven't unlocked yet. I mean, if we do this, we'll have unlocked them. But they're kind of a unique resource you get only by destroying aliens. They're especially alien alloys that only they can make that you have to salvage from the aliens. At that point, it's like the exotic radiator. It's not really worth it. But that's often a very much case-by-case basis. So yeah, that one. Armor. This is the best armor we can have. What we want is, if we go to the ship, because I didn't actually talk that much about armor. Armor in general, you want a whole bunch on the front. You want a little, and then these two you want a little bit. Now each point in the middle, as you can see, adds a lot more tons. So this is like how heavy the ship is. And this is an incredibly important stat because this then determines how fast you can move. Every single ton on the ship, every single middle point of armor adds a lot more tons than you see these other points. So what you want to try and do is have a lot of armor on the front and then have your ships facing the enemy, and then you get hit on your front, and then your sides are kind of your weak points, right? And pretty much all the ships in the game are designed like that. So it's quite important to learn to try and hit ships on the sides and have your fronts always forward facing the enemy. However, you will get hit on the side. If you have no armor on the side, you basically have 0 health on the side and you just die. So that's important. And then you also want a little bit on the back. You usually want to have like quite a lot. This max thing is new, so I'm a little bit worried about it, but I assume it's just because this armor is really terrible. It has such a low max. But yeah, what you want is mass per point to be as low as possible. Every point of armor is the same regardless of what the armor is. The only difference between the armors is that the armors are more or less heavy. A lot of this armor stuff is new. So they have like bonuses to various weapons and stuff. Does have me a little bit worried. I'm not used to that, but the old rule was just kind of like you just get the armor that's the best. Just like everything else. This takes extra damage from particle weapon X-rays. I don't know what that means, I'm not gonna lie. Let's have a look at foamed metals. Okay, this also takes extra damage. Thickness per point, 18. 7. So this is like, I assume this is related to the weight. I think I'll probably try and research multiple armors just to figure it out. So in general rule, you just want the best, right? Same with the battery. We'll get the quantum battery. Some batteries can actually have less capacity, but be more expensive. But in general, batteries are not that important. So I usually just get the low mass one. So yeah, we want that radiator. We want that armor. We want the quantum battery. And then the heatsink. So some heat sinks have this kind of thing where you get the heavy one, right? Where you have one that costs more tons but more capacity. Usually you don't need a huge amount of capacity, the heatsink. So I will just get the molten salt heat sinks and I will build a regular one on these ships. And then on my larger ships, I'd probably build the bigger one. Thickness per point. I mean, all of the armors seems to have this extra damage from particle X-rays, so I'm just going to ignore it. Now, the last slot that we didn't really talk about, and that's largely because at this stage of the game, it's not significantly important. So yeah, so we got those for research. So we kind of favorite them, so we know what we're going for. Will be these module slots. Now, see, the gunship can only have one, but later on, we will have ones with multiple slots, right? Even this Corvette here has 2 utility modules. So these can be really important, and it's often like very much kind of what you want at the time, which is why I usually kind of get all of them. This one is new, increases the amount of maximum armor a ship can have. Because before there was no maximum on the amount of armor a ship could have, and I guess there was probably some exploit you could do where you could have like 400 armor and like become impenetrable or something. But yeah, this sounds pretty good, so let's get it. Let's give it a try. For later, it's not really a quick thing that we really want for right now, but later on it might be important. And yeah, for engines, we've already got the engine we want for right now. At some point though, we will want to start doing, now that we have fusion, another great thing about rushing fusion is we can get these fusion reactors for our ships, so it can unlock better engines. So we definitely want to be doing that as well. Another thing that would be nice is to get bigger ships. Now, when we talk about weapons, right? The main weapons we are going to be focusing on will be these, these laser weapons, right? Now, one of the things I've done these because we're going to do visible light, not infrared. Now, one of the things with laser weapons is they're split into two categories. We have laser batteries and laser cannon. Now, as you can see, the laser cannon has the more centimeters that are here, basically the more powerful the laser is, but more importantly, the less the damage drop-off is at long range, right? So, if we see that, we look at this one, for example, our enemy armor effectiveness is 191% at 600 kilometers. With the smaller one, it's 672% at 600 kilometers. With the largest one here, there's 54% at 600 kilometers, right? So we want the largest possible weapons. So overall, cannons are going to be better. Now the difference is that the batteries are built on hull points and the cannons are built on nose. So what does that mean? So let's look at our ships. If we say look at nose weapons and hull weapons, we can see that they are different. So if we build a, let's say, gunship is like the smallest weapon and it's literally just a nose point. An escort, though, doesn't actually have a nose point. It just has hull points. So we can build these, and these are kind of like your classic missile boats, essentially. We'll be using escorts, right? Now this ship would probably actually be really good, but it's not what we're going for. We're going for laser ships. Yeah, if we look at the Corvette, for example, it kind of has, one hull and then one nose. So if we think about it, the nose is the most important part of a ship. When you're dealing with laser ships, the nose weapons are always going to be so much better than the hull weapons. Hull weapons are kind of usually more small side weapons. So if we can get, for example, now if we look back at, say, the larger ships, so let's have a look. Because we'll probably, to be honest, jump straight to patrol vessels and skip the gunships. So if we look at patrol vessels, right, we can see they unlock the frigate, the monitor, and the destroyer. Now the destroyer here has 2 nose points, 2 hull. The monitor has 0 nose, 4 hull, and the frigate has 1 nose, 2 hull. So if we build destroyers instead, we can get a 2 nose. So if we go back to the weapons at the bottom, by having an extra nose point, it doesn't let you build 2 cannons. What it essentially lets you do is this 960 uses 4 nose points. This one uses 3. Then this one uses 2. So we can build the 480 centimeter rather than the 240 by having a slightly larger ship, which will increase our effectiveness at 600 kilometers from enemy armor 600% to enemy armor 191%. So you can see how, like, this stuff, having bigger ships makes your laser weapons a lot more effective, and it really, really like adds up essentially. So yeah, that will be our aim. We're going to try and get some bigger ships, try and get some basically all the best components we can possibly research, and that way we can skip everything in between. And most of this stuff as well, if you notice, I haven't done the global text for any of these. The AI really care about this kind of thing, and I say that they're kind of random, but I don't think they're truly random. One of the things AI loves to focus on is ship text. So this kind of stuff, the AI will just do the text to get for. And most of this will be stuff from like stuff you're trying to do anyway. So I will always usually say stuff like radiator or armor, stuff like that. Obviously, once you're kind of later on, you're trying to optimize everything, it can totally be worth going for. But even me, like, who plays on like brutal, I more or less I'll just get whatever shows up. It will usually be good enough. The differences between them is all marginal. The ones I'm going to focus on are drives and weapons. That's the only things I really care about. Other than that, I'll just get whatever the best is on offer. And I think looking at ships like that makes ships a lot simpler, right? There are only really two parts of a ship, a drive and a weapon. The power plant is directly connected to the drive, so it's more or less just part of it. So just focus on drives that give good exhaust velocity, right? Because a drive with good exhaust velocity means you have good acceleration, and then also will give you then good delta V. So if we look at some of these starting engines, for example, you notice their exhaust velocity is really low, right? So what does that mean? That means they have terrible, terrible delta V. What is delta V? Delta V is essentially how much fuel your ship needs to travel a distance. For example, a ship with like 30 delta V and a ship with 60 delta V, the ship with 60 delta V can travel a much further distance or travel the same distance much faster because essentially it can use its fuel a lot more efficiently, or it just has another way that could work out is because the ship has an F2. It's essentially a calculation. It's kind of complicated, and part of me doesn't always fully understand it, but it's more or less a calculation of how far you can go in space at what speed. So acceleration is just how quickly you can get up to speed, and cruise delta V is how much kind of fuel it takes and how much of your fuel can be at that point. So alien ships are kind of like 500 delta V, which is what they have, which you'll get in the late game. They can more or less travel around the solar system at incredibly high speeds. Once they use their acceleration to get up to those speeds, they can go at really high speeds, more or less go anywhere. And yeah, they can kind of do what they want. But for us, once you accelerate up to kind of your speed, that's kind of your speed. It's quite complicated, but generally you just want this to usually be, if the tooltip more or less is accurate, I would say that like, it's more or less accurate. You usually want it to be high 30s minimum. I would say that whatever it says there, add like 10. So instead of 8, apart from the first one I guess, but like instead of 30 kps, like more like 40 kps, you can do it at a reasonable speed, right? So having about 40 is usually what you want, but often that won't be an option. You'll have 20. If you have 20, you really struggle to like leave your wherever you build the ships. Like if we build them on Mars, for example, if we don't have 20, they're going to struggle to send off to Earth, which can be fine because it's like having ships on Mars is fine. But I love to have ships that are actually able of going anywhere they want, and especially going to Earth, because well, the main goal of our Navy, what is the goal of our Navy anyway, right? It has two main goals, well, three arguably. First is to try and defend certain points around certain systems. For example, if we build them around Mars, we can put a fleet there, and then the aliens will, if they want to try and blow up my bases on Mars, well, I can just send my fleet after them, right? The second goal of a Navy is to basically distract aliens. So the aliens can only have so many ships. They can only do so many things at once. We want them to not blow up our bases, right? Let our bases continue generating us science, because if our bases are generating us science, we're moving closer and closer to the end game. And once we hit the end game, we win, because our science will be so powerful that the aliens don't have a chance. So the aliens need to blow up our bases. If they're distracted, chasing after my Navy, trying to fight my Navy, even losing battles to my Navy, they're not actually destroying my bases. And that's good, right? That's what we want. And the last purpose, and arguably one of the main purposes, is that eventually alien landing ships will overwhelm us. There is, no matter how good our military is on Earth, no matter how anything ever is, aliens have already sent off another one, and they will just continue to do so. We need ships more or less on Earth or around Earth, or killing enough alien ships that they stop creating landing ships and create fighting ships, which is something they will do if they lose enough of their navy. So essentially Earth can be safe. That's in lots of ways the primary goal, and one of the ways that can be achieved is we need to take control of Earth orbit. you know, the initiative have built this, but this is not going to last, right? They don't want anyone who isn't them in Earth orbit, and we need to kind of stop that. So that's the final goal of our fleet. So having fleets that can move around wherever they want lets them come to Earth. It lets them basically, it forces the aliens to have to take care of them, because otherwise they can be a nuisance and like hunt down alien ships around the solar system, right? By having ships with delta V of kind of 30, between 30 and 40, you can kind of do that. And if your ship, instead of is 30 or 40, but it's closer to 60 or 70 delta V, all of a sudden you can really have the freedom to go wherever you want and do whatever you want. And that can be really, really good. But then you still need your acceleration. It's this awkward balancing where you need reasonable acceleration and reasonable delta V, and you'll never quite kind of reach that equilibrium. Like 24 is really good, but that's because this ship has no weight. As soon as we start adding weight, even with this drive, this will not be 24, right? I imagine the mass at the end will probably be like, you know, it'll be a lot more tons than this. So yeah, it can be tricky, but at the end of the day, even if your acceleration is 2 or 3 millig's, like, you can still get around with this. You'll be fine. You just can't really move in combat, but you don't need to move in combat with laser ships. And once we fight with laser ships, it'll be very different than the battle we did with missile ships, because essentially what we do is we just sit there. The aliens come to us, we shoot down all of their stuff, and then we just slowly whittle them down. It's more of a fight of attrition than anything else. Which is, honestly, it's weirdly poetic considering the way this game is set up. Because the aliens, a lot of what they do, the way they take over Earth, the fact they have kind of the war dogs or their methods of kind of slowly infiltrating Earth using their ferricites is based on their biological origins, right? The biology of the Hydra massively dictates how they try and take over Earth and their strategy. Well, humans are endurance hunters, which means that in antiquity, we would essentially hunt something by just running after it until it got tired, and then we wouldn't be tired, and then we would catch it. Endurance is like one of our biological skills in a way. So having ships which essentially just kind of sit there and wait for the aliens to exhaust all their resources and then just slowly whittle them down is weirdly like, you know, that's like us doing our biology. I don't know. I thought about that once, and I always thought that's kind of interesting. But I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that. I'm probably just being like pretentious, but you know, you're trying to add to the story of the game. But yeah, so that's what we are doing with ships. So tech-wise, let's begin. Let's start with the radiator. And for the guns, we will essentially build the visible light variants of these ones that we talked about earlier. And those will be our weapons. For now, let's get this radiator and try and get towards visible combat lasers. Now, another thing we would love is for lasers. For now, we're doing visible combat lasers. This can later unlock ultraviolet, but for ultraviolet lasers, you do need exotics. However, the visible combat lasers can lead to the next level of weapons that I like. So after basic visible lasers, there is this thing here, arc lasers, right? Which we need supercapacitors for. And as you can see, we're basically at the tech for them. So it's kind of annoying we don't have them. And after arc lasers, we have the phased array lasers. So arc lasers, of course, first, and that will be our next big thing. And once we have ships with arc lasers, that's when our ships will really like take off. For right now, basic laser ships are not super good. We kind of can't really deal with large alien navies. We can kind of kill the odd little ship on its own if we outnumber it. But large alien navies we can't deal with. Once we have arc lasers, we can deal with large alien fleets. We can deal some serious damage. Once we have phasers, we can be incredibly powerful. Like, we can more or less just wipe out much larger alien fleets than ourselves. Now, the ultimate weapons for me in this game, the weapons that I adore, that, you know, sometimes you could rush, but you do need exotics for them. So we will do arc lasers first, and maybe we will get these before we ever get the phase lasers, our plasma weapons. These, in my opinion, are the best weapons in the game. They're essentially similar to lasers. The advantage of lasers, right? I haven't really explained why we're doing lasers over something like missiles. Lasers cannot be stopped by point defense. Alien ships are covered in point defense. Lasers cannot be stopped by point defense. Our point defense, because lasers will just shoot enemy missiles coming at you. So what you can do at the beginning of the battle is your lasers shoot all the enemy missiles coming at you. Once they're all gone, you can then turn on the enemy. So their point defense, their damage is actually a lot better than you think. And they're just constantly there. They don't run out of ammo. There's no issues with them. They're just reliable. Plasma are more or less the same. They aren't affected by point defense. But the thing is with plasma is there's no ranged penalty. Lasers lose damage the longer they go out. This doesn't happen with plasma. Plasma is essentially just an absolute long-distance cannon that will just shred alien ships. And it's incredibly powerful. And so that will be kind of the ultimate goal, is to get plasma ship weapons. And at that point, with proper plasma weapons on your ships, with then kind of your few remaining hull points, you have kind of little laser guns. Your ships are more or less unstoppable, and that is the goal. And what we need to do is essentially survive with our kind of okay laser ships until we can get a fleet, which is more or less unstoppable. And at that point, the game is over. So for now, we'll try and go to arc lasers. And then I'll probably either try and do plasma weapons, because we are quite advanced in a lot of areas. Or maybe just do some other techs. I mean, there's no huge rush for it. There's, you know, bigger ships, stuff like that. All that really helps as well. But that is more of a future discussion, I guess. For now, arc lasers is the big goal. So that will be our ships once we're ready. So essentially now we know, now that we've gone through that, we know what techs we're doing, what we're going for, and then once we have them all, we will build a fleet. But of course the thing is, we don't have those techs yet. So you're always kind of in this awkward middle stage. Okay, we're doing abductions. And here we go. Now, so many of these again. I don't know if there's a way to like mass close those. If there is, let me know. I know you can set them to not pop up, but I do want them to pop up, because later on that might be important. But yeah, other than the nano factories, our bases are all now complete. Now what does this mean? Our science has gone up to 152, so not a massive increase. But if we go in here, we can see that all of a sudden our military bonus is 116%. Our materials bonus here, plus 75%. This one, 140%. All of a sudden, our bonuses to research has massively increased. And that is one of the reasons why we were getting the stuff we were getting. So it should mean that we're a lot more efficient tech-wise. And it should make it so much quicker getting arc lasers and the techs we need for our ships. And at this moment, our tech will slowly start to skyrocket. I mean, how much? Habs is giving 15.1 base science. So these little labs that we have, they only give 10, but that really does slowly add up. And the other building that we will want a few of at some point, and I'll almost certainly add them all in, will be the like kind of basic research center, which was the one that costs 1 mission control and gives 60. I don't believe I've researched it yet, which is why we don't have any, but those can then give you kind of the flat science. And yeah, the Chinese army has annihilated the aliens, and the initiative, sorry, the Exodus. Oof. Yeah, the Exodus did not win that battle, even though they... Oh shit, no. I'm saying go home, where the battle is not over. Don't retreat. Oops, that was a bit of a mistake. I don't know. I thought the battle was over for some reason. Yeah, so just try and not let the aliens get any form of foothold. Because when they have a foothold, they can then land in more fleets. And the alien armies on Earth get really dangerous when they hit the point where there are like, instead of 3 armies, there's 3, then there's 6, then there's 9. And at that point, even all of this will not be able to handle them.
Your orders?
Although 9 they'd be able to.
Ready for my mission.
But it's further than that. So, investigate you.
Ready to go.
Okay, so this alien is probably new. It's at 12 persuasion, which is just... is not a great alien. However, we might as well kill it for fun. There's no huge need to. But, why not? 64 ops.
Where to?
Leia Abbott,
Ready to go.
64
Tracking
ops. Darkramal, protect. Help.
On guard.
Where do you
Yen,
need me?
protect Leah.
Defending the VIP.
And Sydney.
Acknowledged.
No, it's been okay, we know we do have this one. No, that does not give investigate counselor. My kind of base little missions I have, because the changes they get stolen, which is slightly irritating. What we're gonna have to do. Oh, it would be frustrating if I couldn't get a. Okay, yeah, investigate counselor. So let's grab this from Alp. Given that, I'm not going to give him it back. Go to Sydney. Take off this for now. Put that in there. So this will mean that Sydney now has investigate counselor. So Sydney and investigate this alien. So we still know this is an alien, even though we fail. We just keep track of him. Okay, there we go. Okay, and we've captured a theropod alien alive. The salamander. Beauty is not skin deep, it is said, and neither, it would seem, is monstrosity. The captive salamander demonstrates neither obvious fear nor compliance, instead bristling with barely withheld aggression at all times. Yet this is clearly no animal. It watches carefully, choosing its moments and actions carefully, never recklessly. The salamander is a chilling being to find oneself in the presence of. The coiled might of the thing, the eyes that demote only cold hatred. Most of all the sense that it is waiting patiently for the perfect moment to strike. It is, as we suspect, a mere foot soldier in a war we do not yet wholly comprehend. It is nevertheless one more than capable of its own decision making. These salamanders, I love the salamanders, they look really scary. By scary I mean they look kind of goofy, but they have these like kind of weird claws. It's like a weird mix of kind of looking silly and then, I don't know. They're an incredibly important race though to the story. And we will get onto them. Okay, salamander interrogation. There's actually Assault Alien asset getting +3 isn't terrible for later on, so that's actually a nice one to get for once we want to start taking out bases. Oh, another one of these silly xenofauna events, always slightly annoying.
Defending the VIP.
On guard.
Yep, so now we won't die if we get a
Mission
critical
in
failure.
progress.
I will report when my mission is complete. The target is down.
Okay, and Leia has done it, so that's one alien down, and then we will
Mission cancelled.
focus back on this one.
We found nothing of note.
So how yep, so we're doing that, doing visible combat lasers. And still do, oh, and of course now that we have all these skunk works as well, the other thing we built was these skunk works, which also give another +80%. So the +80% and +74% go together. That's why we're building so many skunk works. So you also have an extra slot. So let's start on patrol vessels. So we could build slightly bigger ships. We might not. We might build the smallest ones purely for speed. Yep, so our shipyards have been constructed. Not that that really matters because we don't have ships really. We'll still need to wait for the techs. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, we are doing quite well now. We have our proper space base, our proper space empire on the ground. We have free mission control in order to build our space navy. Now you can build like tier 2 things that give mission control, but in general you just always want it on Earth. It's quite easy to get on Earth. It's just the better option. And I have been forgetting as this episode has gone on. I'm probably have missed someone, but to be checking this. There's been so much going on. I've just been... I mean, this guy's still here, so I haven't missed, like, anyone, really. Which is alright. Nope. Oh, okay. Masadra Madani. Government, transparent, but striver. I actually also really like transparent, because their loyalty is their loyalty, which is actually really, really nice. Earthbound doesn't care. I'm not going to do any of those missions anyway. Insecure is bad, but you can probably get rid of that. But if not, it doesn't really matter. Family ties to Indonesia. That's fine. We're not going to be nuking Indonesia. And connected. Yes, he's really good. Now, he's not an investigator, and I did say I would like to get an investigator. However, investigate is one of those ones where the orgs can do it pretty easily. So yeah, let's do Marissa Madrini as our last investigator, the officer. So one of the reasons I've been keeping all this stuff around is for this guy, Templin Institute, definitely. Let's get you protect target because that's something you can do while you're not doing anything else. Let's get you this as well. The main thing you're going to need is some big investigate org that gives you loads of missions, which weirdly enough, not a single one of those is here. So what missions is our last councillor, Mastrina Madrini, going to need? Well, hopefully our last councillor, someone might die, and it's basically just these three. It will be crackdown, investigate councillor, detain councillor. I believe there are more investigate missions. I'm not 100% sure though. It might just be those three. Yeah, crackdown, investigate, councillor, detain. Yeah, and those are the only ones we would ever need. So, his administration is up to 15. Let's grab this. Put him up to 18. The National Reconnaissance Office. It's not amazing, but it does cost free, gives plus free. It also gives 2 mission control. Surveil location. Oh yeah, that's the other one, which isn't technically an investigate action, but more or less is because it uses your investigation. Oh, he just gets protect target as is as well because he's officer. That's good then. So let's get you the National Reconnaissance Office. This gives you detain, although you already have detain. Let's see if there's something we can grab from out. So we have this one, which gives you Steel Project. The Sigma Intelligence Solutions. Surveil location, investigate councillor, investigate alien activity. What we need is crackdown as well. So let's grab this for now anyway. Alp doesn't need it. But Alp is quite a bit behind on his investigate now. Well, I'm sure he'll catch up. And let's go back to you. So let's give you that. Yeah, so that gives you investigate and detain. So the last thing you need now is crackdown. Any of these give crackdown. No, but yeah, no crackdown. But we will get it. We will get it at a later stage. No real rush. Okay. So let's give you this science org. Let's give you Perseus products because we might as well. Let's give you the. I would love someone else to have UNESCO. Just to help keep up inspiring. You know what? It will be this guy. Because one of the things as well, even though he is going for Investigator, one of the things that's the best thing about the Sick Counselor is where all my other counselors are leveled up, at least for a while, he'll essentially be mainly focused on stuff like stuff anyone can do. Things like defend interests or even just advise, you know? So having him in with Inspire will be quite nice. And yeah, for now that's it. Let us continue and let us see if we can get crack down on him at some point soon. So
Standing by.
Sydney will go to ground because he has been detected by these servants.
Ready.
Maris says first mission should be probably, I think with him we just need to level him up as quickly as possible. So I'm actually just going to do stabilize in Canada.
At your service.
What voice did you get? English Singaporean male too. Oh, cool. Even though you are Indonesian. That's good though.
Your orders.
I think more people should use more like agents should use the Singaporean voice. Because it's just always a bit weird that the kind of Chinese agents always have the American voice. So Leah Abbott has successfully killed that agent. So out. I was so focused on that, I like forget what I'm doing elsewhere. Yeah. Let's continue doing that. Let's do a surveil location, because it will probably stay where it is.
Where to?
Dahramal. It was in, where was that event? It was in Atlanta, wasn't it? Where is Atlanta? One of these. This one. Okay, there it is. Oh, that's quite a lot, actually.
Taking it to them.
Let's do an assault alien asset, and you also do a fight the Xenofauna as well. It's nice that we have an army just sitting there waiting for it. Yen. And advise China. We have no one advising America this turn.
Where do you need me?
For now, just advise America.
Offering counsel.
Okay, and that will also, because of all those orgs and stuff, because of his administration, command, and persuasion, has given us a control cap of 540. Which means that once we've killed this alien, we've decided to move down here. The aliens love this spot for some reason, so it's a good idea to have Al constantly be surveilling this spot. Like, finding patterns in the AI behavior is really important. So, alien fleet launches for Mars low orbit. There is, if they want to blow up all of my Mars bases, there is very little I can do about it, unfortunately, at this stage. Because, yeah, we don't have the fleets. One of the things I'll often do... Oh, but the Humanity First might fight them. One of the things I often do is I wait to get tier 2, even if I have fusion, until I have all of the ship text. I slowly started not doing that because at the end of the day, your surface to orbit defenses, once you get stuff like visible combat lasers, are usually alright. Oh, another alien. Okay. Oh my god. Yeah. Wow, okay. And there's an alien here as well, so there are a lot more aliens. They're just all in China. They're all... Okay, more EU countries. All the aliens are just obsessed with China. Which is fair enough, it's really the prize grab right now. Because America is just too hard to take because the fact that it's more or less had no abductions. Although if I was the AI, I would just do abductions in America and take that. Okay, Luma Station. Apply. Shipyard. Back to Earth. Yes, it didn't take very long to arrive. Okay, out.
Investigating target.
Keep investigating. Now you, I'm going to hope, are not also an alien, right? Oh, you could be. If you are an alien, you're incredibly new. If you are an alien, you're incredibly new. 16 is just not amazing. Oh, but then you're 15. Oh, I think they're both aliens. Yeah, this one has 25 espionage, which implies it's been around a while. So these ones might be kind of very new alien agents, which means that killing them is not a huge priority. So and we have so much other stuff to focus on. It's one of those things of what do you focus on? At this point of the game, I want to kill this one, but we also need to be working on Japan.
Reporting in.
So speaking of working on Japan, let's begin publicly campaigning there.
What's the up?
Acknowledged.
Ready.
Daframal, continue fighting
Going
the
in hot.
Where
Xenofauna.
to? Where to?
Sydney, advise America.
Offering counsel. At your service.
So yeah, its science score of America is still a little bit better. This guy, let's just do investigate alien activities with him for the southern one. So I'm just going to let these other aliens go, unfortunately, because they're probably very new. They're probably not very experienced. There's no point just killing the baby counselors over and over again. I mean, there is. There is a point, but we have other stuff to do. Namely Japan. Because now that we have the cap, Japan has 21 mission control. It'd be a great nation to try and grab so we can put it into the Pan-Asian Combine as soon as possible. And we are very, very close to this, aren't we yet? October, November, so next month. The United States of North America will be completed. Oh, rest cohesion is dropping
The people will
because
come
of
to our side.
inequality mitigated by, I assume, as our education score goes up. Basically, as education goes up, it more or less directly impacts cohesion negatively, which is really smart in my opinion. It's a really good way of balancing it. So it looks like we're going to need a bit more welfare in America again. So, patrol vessels done. So, let's get rid of the show obsolete stuff. There are also some really nice utility modules that I didn't really mention. I just said kind of get whatever. But electronic countermeasures. Eventually you need a tech so it works on alien missiles. But these, you essentially just remove some of the missiles coming at you, which is just kind of a net decrease of enemy damage, more or less. So I always really like those. In larger ships, I find the repair bay to be pretty much essential. But of course, for right now, we don't need that. And it just allows you to repair your ship away from the shipyard, which is really, really good. So let's get started on these. Let's start with, let's continue with nanotube armor. I don't know, actually, that's materials and materials, so those are all materials. Well, we'll just keep doing materials. Oh, another alien, Alpha 26. Yeah, see, Alpha 15 here, he has been a while, but he's kind of the alien espionage counselor, not their persuasion. High persuasion is when the counselors are scary. High espionage? You can take it or leave it.
Score one
We'll get rid of him, though,
guys.
purely because he's quite high level. And that is not something we're happy with.
Recon complete.
We found something.
And we'll try and investigate Alpha 26 this turn, because we still need a bit more public campaigning in
Genghis Khan was
Japan.
a
Visible combat lasers. And it was supercapacitors to unlock arc lasers. Supercapacitors also gives you the laser engine, which is just a utility module that just gives a buff to laser weapons, which is also really, really good. So yeah, let us do that. Now I really want to do like these missions. Also, this one is really important. There's a lot still that we're missing, because we still haven't done Mercury yet. And even if I don't want Mercury, because I have fusion power, I really don't need Mercury at this point. Letting the AI get those extra points will help them along, and any buffs to the AI human nations is good. At least at this stage of the game. So let's do supercapacitors to move towards arc lasers. Here we go. So these will unlock the green laser batteries. which will be the hull-mounted ones. We'll leave them there. The laser cannons, that's what we're going to want. That will be our main weapons. For right now.
Ready for
So.
my mission.
Oh, he's not even fully investigated yet.
I'm here.
Can we kill them anyway? No, you really need that additional +2.
What's the
Okay.
op?
Let's continue investigating them.
Ready for orders.
Ready to go.
Sydney... Oh no, actually, that's why we now have Mauricia. And try and investigate this guy. In fact, can do it successfully, because his espionage is so
Where do you
low.
need me?
Just to see if he's any good.
I'm here.
At your service.
Yen is pretty much going to be in permanent Japanese public campaigning for a
What's the
while.
op?
Where to?
Dahramal needs to do one of these
Investigating
investigates,
site.
Ready
which
for
then
my
leaves
mission.
us to have
Acknowledge.
the double advice this way.
We'll help them.
Although,
Standing by
no,
for
okay, we're still off that. Yeah,
offering support.
got everything that we need covered. New councillors start at +40 XP. I mean, it's kind of cool, but we shouldn't get any new councillors. There is a non-zero chance someone will die at some stage of the game, so it's still nice to have, but yeah, it's not super required. They can also get traits because they're all kind of slowly aging, right? They can get traits where they like kind of die. Oh, big investigate org here. And stuff which are like these science ones, I'm not going to prioritize. I just kind of gave them to you because we might as well. But yeah, that was the only science one we had actually. +1 administration. +1 administration. Why is it? Doesn't it? Insufficient resources. Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, we've burnt through all of our money. And we can't sell stuff. Okay, well, there is a solution to this. It's kind of annoying to have to do this, but yeah, we will spoil our nations for a little bit.
Person of interest surveilled.
Okay, I mean, it's not a huge, if you're in debt, it doesn't really matter. Just need to get out of it. Electron Lance, are these kind of new? I don't really recognize these. I wonder if these are any good. Something to test in a future playthrough. I'm not going to test it in this one. Most weapons like this, though, usually can be stopped by point defense, and anything that can be stopped by point defense, immediately I'm just not interested. I just like to avoid point defense at all times.
Tracking failed.
An alien specimen has escaped containment at Carrie Colliery. This question of War Dog, having recovered from the site in one of the past combat engagements with the aliens, it had no neurological activity and was thought to be deceased. Thus, we did not take stringent precautions when transporting it to Carrie Colliery to study. They discovered their mistake when it unexpectedly reanimated and savaged a nearby researcher before escaping into a nearby ventilation duct. It is now lurking somewhere in the depths of Carrie Colliery, no doubt waiting to strike again. Despite this, the local HAB commander has assured us that the situation is under control. So we can lure it somewhere to jettison it. Spend resources to give our people guns. So that has a 65% chance of failure. That has a 60%. So let's do the one with a higher chance of success. No. The crew drew straws to see who would be the one to attract us locations. Fortunately, the crew did not work fast enough, and those specimens stole through the trap, meaning it was instead a hapless crewmate who was ejected while his crewmates were picked off. Okay, so we now need to. The specimen is still on the thing, so we just need to hope that we don't continue to get unlucky with those events, because they can cause issues.
Increasingly with us.
More French xenofauna. AI really needs to deal with this. They're usually better at. Okay, they are slowly knocking it down. Interesting that they're now doing peace with humanity first. Yep, so they weren't happy with Bloomer Station in Sun Earth L1 orbit. That's fine. I'm not surprised, to be honest. And the aliens, because we are over threat, will kind of, yeah, they won't be happy with us.
Recon complete.
But as you can see, we are still all alive. Even though we've been over threat, we are still all alive. And the reason I say that, we're about to take damage. Oh, and yeah, we're about to lose these as well. Let's accept, and I'm just going to auto-resolve because there's no point just watching our thing get blown up. Yeah, we got blown up. Yeah, we might not be able to get away with the Martian shipyards. It might have to be the asteroid belt. We'll see if they go after the others. I mean, there's no real rush to build shipyards because we're still not ready with our ships, at least for a little bit.
Ready for my mission.
And part of me would love to get arc lasers before we build ships. In fact, we should probably, instead of doing what we're doing, where I'm kind of rushing this, we should probably be rushing these techs so we can get the ships going right now. So yeah, let's actually do that instead. Let's actually stop doing global techs altogether. We'll continue with ferrocite resistance. And let's just rush engineering in order to get everything we need for the ships. Probably should have been doing that earlier. Oh my god, the time. But yeah, with the destruction of that base, all of our ships soon to be built, we're looking in a really, really good spot. And yeah, we'll see how bad the damage is in the Mars system in the next episode. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you then.